Hey guys, what's up? Just Will here. I'm going to be making a quick picks video for UFC Vegas 49, Makhachev versus Green. Sorry I couldn't get out earlier this week. I've had a very busy week. I'm going to continue to have a very busy week. So I'm literally going to give you a 10-15 minute video of just some of my thoughts on the card and my picks. And I do have 3 bets for this card. And I will be adding another one because there's a parlay I quite like in there as well. So, yeah, sorry that I couldn't have a long-winded prediction video out like I usually do, but I really just wanted to get something out here for you guys because I know that everyone comes and asks me on Twitter when are you putting your videos out, so on. This is just when I'm doing it. So I'm going to quickly fly through this card and give you my thoughts on some of the fights. First up, we've got Victor Altamirano against Carlos Hernandez, 2 guys off the Dana White Contender Series. I like the wrestling of Hernandez, and I quite like the pressure of Altamirano with his come forward style, with his aggressiveness, with his striking. Ultimately, I'm going to be on the Carlos Hernandez side. What I've seen from him a little bit more is his grappling. I think this is going to be a very close fight. Actually, I was around thinking maybe betting Hernandez at one point, but I thought to myself, there's other fights I'd rather bet, and there's bigger bets I want to make in this card. So just leave these guys to it. Let's get a little bit more data out there for everyone to see. And just kind of leave this one by the wayside, watch it and see if we can learn a little bit more about both these guys. But ultimately, I'm going to pick Carlos Hernandez. I just like his wrestling a little bit more. I think he can have some top time. But it's in the flyweights. Those guys are flying around everywhere. It could be one of those things where he gets takedowns, Victor, and he gets taken down and then pops back to his feet. He starts to land some damaging strikes. But ultimately, I've got Carlos Hernandez via decision there. I was going to say I'll leave the timestamps. I'll get the timestamps and the selections down there for you as well as quick as I can. Ramiz Brahimaj coming in short notice against Michael Gilmore, who's making the drop down, I believe, to 170 pounds. I mean, I know that Brahimaj is coming in here on short notice, but we've seen from some of Gilmore's previous fights that he can be submitted. We're going to see how he's going to make that cut down to 170, which is probably the best thing for him, because 185 he was just being out-muscled. Seen that in the Petrosyan fight where he was taken down and ultimately stopped there. Do or die, I think, for Brahim. I think it's his last fight in his contract. I don't think he's looked overly great. I think people are down on him after the Court McGee fight. Court McGee's just a tough, grizzled vet, and you're going to have fights like that where you come out strong, try to get him, but you just got a guy that's just got the more will in the fight, and that was it there. But like I say, if he can get this fight to the ground, and he is one of those guys that's aggressive, getting the takedown and getting on top, then I think he could win this fight. Gilmore, I don't really think is really UFC caliber, but Brahim, I'm going to pick him via first round submission. If it goes into the second or third round, then Brahimaj could be very much compromised in this fight, and Gilmore could be live in it. But I like the Brahimaj side there. Alejandro Perez against Jonathan Martinez. When I was kind of looking at the stats and stuff and watched a fight or two of Alejandro Perez, I thought to myself, this might be one of those classic spots where he can weasel a decision. And I actually still think that this is a possibility in this fight. I know there's some predictors out there that are super on Jonathan Martinez. I know my boy Clint, Diehard MMA. Shout out to Clint. I'm going to be on his show next week, and I cannot wait for that for UFC 272. He's very confident. He's dropped the hammer on Martinez in this spot. I think it's going to play out a lot closer. I still think Martinez is, when you watch back some of his fights in his corner, he doubts himself just a little bit. And I'm like, coming off that Davy Grant fight where he got knocked out pretty viciously, he rebounded with a win over Lavashvili, where he landed abundance of strikes and just looked very dominant there. I'm still not sure on his mindset, and Perez is a guy that it's just hard to look good against at any point, and he's always kind of going to be in the fight. So I was going to side with Perez. I mean, he's only won the last 3 or 4 years is Johnny Eduardo, who looked like terrible in that fight. So ultimately, I'm going to go with Jonathan Martinez. I think he's got the more fight-ending strikes. I think he's got more power, more speed, a bit more variety, where I think that the doggedness of Perez might keep him in the fight and might make this a very close one. But ultimately, I've got Jonathan Martinez. I'm going to take him via 29-28 decision. Jinh Frey against Hannah Goldy. Hard for me to get a read in this one because I like what I've seen from Goldy in the last fight. Obviously, she finished that fight via an armbar, and that was up a division. Now she's making that tough cut back down to 115. She's big, she's strong. This is more of a natural weight class for Jinh Frey, who I don't think she'll be cutting vast amount of weight to get to that one, considering she was a 105er. And she's got a lot of experience coming through Invicta, fighting over and rising, now in the UFC, getting wins in the UFC, starting to show an all-around game. And you kind of got the powerhouse of Goldy, who I do think is improving slowly but surely. But I'm not sure in this fight. I know some people are on the Goldy side, and I kind of thought I was going to be more on that side. She was my initial thought with this fight, but I'm kind of leaning more on the Jinh Frey side. So, like I say, I've not really looked into it all that much, guys. On a fight there is some fights I really like in here. This is one of the ones that I wouldn't have looked into all that much anyway, and I definitely wouldn't be betting anything. But if you're on the dog side, I wish you luck. I think I'm going to edge Jinh Frey to win a pretty close competitive decision, another 29-28 there. Terrance McKinney against Ziam. There's a lot of hype in this McKinney kid. I don't see it. I might be one of these guys that's super slow on the McKinney side here, but I think Ziam, if he gets through this 5 minutes, avoids getting taken down numerous times throughout the fight, I think he wins this fight with his output, with his conditioning. I think he's got a better conditioning than Terrance McKinney. I mean, McKinney is really, I think he's the Twitter darling out there. He's thrown himself out there, trying to be big on social media, and it's kind of working to an extent. I just don't see it. I think he's fought low-level opposition. I think his win in the UFC was phenomenal. Great finish, a highlight moment. You can't begrudge a young kid like that, a big moment like that. So, but like I say, he has the wrestling advantage in this one. Could take the fight down numerous times, but I see Ziam using that big lanky frame, framing off, keeping this fight on the feet. And I think, like I say, at all times you have to be careful with McKinney, but I just think Faras is going to slow this fight down. He's going to land more strikes, and he's going to ultimately win the decision. I would bet Faras Ziam. I would love him at dog money. I don't think we're going to get it. I know there's a lot of love on the McKinney side, so I don't see the line overly changing that much to where he could get down that low. But I'm going to pick Ziam to win this one. Josiane Nunes against Ramona Pascual. The only fight I've seen against for Ramona was her last one in Invicta, which I think she fought in January. Outside of that, I've not seen a hell of a lot from her. Nunes is coming off that big knockout of Bimaleki where she really pushed her back, landed some massive strikes. The chin was in the air for Maleki. She's very short for featherweight. So Pascual in this one's going to be there where her chin's going to be in the air. She can possibly hit her on that chin and kind of knock her out, similar to what the Bimaleki fight. Pascual, from what I've seen, will look to get takedowns, could get takedowns, but the low center of gravity of Nunes could be kind of pivotal in this one. And I've seen some people that I respect in the betting game that are on the Pascual side. I think they are saying that the line is a little bit off, but like I said, I've not watched enough of her to really make an opinion of that. And Nunes, what I've seen from her previous fights before that in the UFC, and then her fight against Maleki, that I think she could potentially touch the chin of Ramona here. So it's interesting to see if Pascual can get her, she's coming in short nose, if she can get her grappling together, then I think she could ultimately win the fight. And Nunes, I think, could catch the chin of her from what I've seen as well. She does hang her head a little bit high. Our defense lacks a little bit. So I think I'll lean. You know what? I was going to take the dog there. You know what? I will take the dog. I'll take Pascual to get that wrestling and tie her up a little bit and win a decision there. So I'll take Ramona Pascual. But like I say, that's a bold pick in my side because I've not seen more than enough for her. So it's a low-level fight, which I've not really watched much of either girl. More on Nunes, but I think Pascual might get a wrestling together and win this fight. Rong against Ignacio Bahamondes. I like Bahamondes in this spot. I'm looking to parlay him up if I can find a will and dance partner or a spot that I like. But there's not much that I like kind of for the rest of the card. So I might have a look in Bellator or whatever it may be. Rong, like I say, I thought he looked great last time out. Got himself a big finish over Brandon Jenkins. I don't think Jenkins looked all that good. I think it was a good style matchup for Rong, especially with him coming in short notice. Bahamondes is just a big dude, heavy striker, good cardio, can take a lick and keep on ticking. Rong, the one thing I don't like is he doesn't throw enough for me. I think the volume and the pace on the Bahamondes side is ultimately going to, like, the pace is really going to show on Rong, and I think ultimately Bahamondes has got an opportunity to knock this kid out. So I'm going to take Bahamondes to win via knockout. Like I say, minus 225. I'm looking to parlay him up. Just need to find a position that I like a little bit more, but I'm taking Bahamondes there. Armen Petrosyan against Gregory Rodrigues. This was the first bet I made in this card, and I made it way back before Valentine's Day. I was just watching some fights, came across Petrosyan, bet him last time out in the Dana White Contender Series, and all the fights seem to be the same. Everyone wants to grapple this guy and get him to the ground, and ultimately, sometimes you can have a little bit of success, but once it gets back to the feet, you've tired yourself out so much that his striking then comes into play, and the guy's big, longish, because I know Rodrigues is the same size with a bigger reach here. I just like what I see from the guy. I think that he's got a really good striking arsenal. I think that Rodrigues is very tough. I think he's came a long way from the Dana White Contender Series where he got knocked out by Jordan Williams, and he beat the Iron Turtle last time out. Really, really good win. Got some big power, got some good jiu-jitsu. I'm still a little bit skeptical about his gas tank. I think he might come out here, look to grapple, maybe get Petrosyan down, because everyone seems to do that with Petrosyan. And then once he kind of disengages, he catches the chin of the opponent sometimes. So I bet him at plus 162. The lines come down to, I think, plus 140. I'm seeing plus 138 here in the UK. So it's around that number. I got in nice and early. Love that play. I'm seeing a lot of people on him as well, which you're like, is that a good or a bad thing? But it is what it is. I've got Petrosyan. I've got him via knockout at the end of the first round. My favourite fight of the whole entire card, Arman Tsarukyan against Joel Alvarez. If you guys have been riding with me for the longest time, you know I'm a massive fan of Arman Tsarukyan. And I've not been overly high on Joel Alvarez, but you have to give that guy credit for what he has done in the lightweight division. Now, I use that sparingly because he's missed weight a couple of times, but this guy is humongous for the division. I hope he makes weight, because I don't think this fight will take place if he does miss weight. I just think from some of the things I've heard and some of the things I've seen that this fight won't take place if he misses again, and he should probably go to 170 if that's the case. But the guy has been lights out recently. Like, I did not see this coming with this guy. I thought he would be okay, but I didn't think he'd be start running through guys. Joe Duffy was kind of, his head was out of the sport. Yakovlev, then he got a massive jump against Thiago Moises and absolutely destroyed that guy with his pace, with his power, with his length. And the guy's dangerous everywhere, from striking to his grappling. Takedown defense is not good whatsoever. And that ultimately, I think that's what's going to lose him this fight. I'm on Tsarukyan here. I've laid my biggest bet that I've laid in a long, long time on Armen Tsarukyan. He was way up there. The line I do think was a little high to begin with. There was people up there seeing, I think, plus 260 on Alvarez. Yeah, I don't mind you guys taking a shot at that one, but the line is coming down, and I bet Tsarukyan at minus 200. I dropped a hammer from my biggest bet that I made in a very long time on Armen Tsarukyan. I think he's going to get takedowns here. I think he's going to get a load of control in this fight. I think that he wins by decision. I think he can hang on the feet, but also, when you see Alvarez, he's very, very aggressive and very dangerous. You can see that he can hurt dudes with just the limbs that he has, but his takedown defense isn't enough. Where I think that he could ultimately be very active off his back. He will go for guillotines. He will go for submissions. I just think Tsarukyan is a different beast. I am super high on Tsarukyan. I think the guy's got championship qualities about him, that he could have a belt close to around his waist one day. That's just my opinion. You have to be careful because he has been rocked a couple of times. Frivola hit him with some good shots. There was a fight in the past, I think it was OAM, maybe hit him with a good knee in that fight, but he hit him like a champ, come forward there and win the fight. So I like Tsarukyan. I think he wins 30-27. I think this is a massive, massive fight for him to show where he is in the division. I think the control time will show how good he is. I've got Tsarukyan via a comprehensive decision, but I know lots of people on the other side, so I'm interested to see going against those guys as well. Ji Young Kim against Priscilla Cachoeira. I mean, Ji Young Kim is flaming out. I thought she had a little bit of potential to maybe do something, but she's very hittable. I mean, she's got a lot of things that you like, her length. She has a lot of output as well, but she gets hit a lot. She gets hit clean. And then you've got Priscilla, who's a heavy hitter, but very, very slow, very plodding. But if she lands those hands on you, she can put you down. I think she can hit Ji Young Kim, but I think Kim can also bring out her grappling and beat Priscilla with her grappling. But ultimately, I'm going to lean with the Ji Young Kim. I think she's going to tie her, kind of catch her out. I think she's going to use that length a little bit because she's not great at using it. Land more strikes. Cachoeira's going to come forward. I think she can get like very quick takedowns and go from there. And ultimately, I think she wins the decision. So I've got Ji Young Kim. Co-main event, Misha Cirkunov against Wellington Turman. Oh, not sure about this one. I thought to myself initially that I like Wellington Turman, but then I was like, oh, geez, I don't even know. I don't like Misha Cirkunov in his debut against Jotko. I did like him, sorry, that's what I'm trying to say. I thought he looked okay, considering he's a big guy making that 20-pound drop down to a new division, but Jotko's just one of those spoiler fighters that is tough to fight, and ultimately he won the 2 rounds, big first 2 rounds, and then lost the third. But I'm interested to see how this goes, because I think both guys are very fragile. I think both guys have got, especially the Cirkunov side, I think he's got a decent submission game. I think Wellington Turman's a black belt. He's been working with Glover Teixeira a little bit. So I'm interested to see how this fight goes. I've been thinking, I was actually coming home from work tonight and I was thinking about this fight. I was like, out of all the fights on here, this is the one that kind of intrigued me a little bit. And I'm not going to be betting this fight, but I'm just thinking, is Cirkunov, if he puts a performance like he did last time out against Jotko, I think that he can do enough to win 2 rounds. So I'll take Misha Cirkunov, not super confident, but I'm interested to kind of watch the fight and see how Misha is again at 185. And Turman, I think it's just a big fight for him, for his relevancy to staying in the UFC. So I'm going to take Cirkunov there. Islam Makhachev against Bobby Green, the king. Bobby Green steps in here. Literally 2 weeks ago he fought. He steps in here on a week's notice against one of the problems at 155 in a catch weight, I should say. And Islam Makhachev, who this was supposed to be Beneil Dariush. I loved that fight. I thought Beneil Dariush had a chance to win that fight. I really did. And I'm seeing a lot of love for Bobby Green. I think everyone's rooting for Bobby this week, but it's still going to be a tough fight. I do think he's got spots in this fight here where he can bring something to the table against Islam. I think that his confidence is skyrocketing. Took no damage against Nasrat. Of course, this is a massive jump up from a guy nowhere near being ranked to the guy who's predominantly ready to fight for a title, and he could get it. Maybe not after this one. I can maybe see him fighting a Fiziev or a Tosanos, depending who wins that fight. But did he fight Tosanos before? No, he didn't. I don't think he did. And that's a fight they tried to make. But we know what Makhachev's going to do. He's going to want to come forward, use that elite grappling. He's got elite wrestling. Bobby's squirmy, though. Bobby is like snake-like. He can slip out from underneath you. He can stop a takedown. So I just don't think he's going to do it enough in this fight. But I don't see this being one of these fights where I can actually see it kind of getting into the mid parts, if not late. So I think Bobby Green, I think he will land some strikes, depending if Islam wants to keep the fight on the ground and maybe just try striking out and see how he compares against a guy like Bobby, who's not got massive knockout power, but we have seen Islam knocked out before. And Bobby, all the confidence is on that side at the minute. So I'm looking forward to the main event. I'm cheering for Bobby Green. I'm picking Islam Makhachev. I think that wrestling, the grappling is just so smothering in spots. And like he's like, what, minus 800? So I'm on the side of everybody that wants to bet Bobby Green this week, whether it's silly, you're throwing money away. I don't care. I want Bobby to come out here, shock the world, really put himself in that top 10 of that division, because the guy's been around for the longest time and he's fun to watch. It's funny because he doesn't really knock guys out, but he's fun. His fights are just so fun to watch, and I'm a big fan of Bobby Green's. A big admirer of Islam Makhachev. Like I say, he took out my boy Armen Tsarukyan, who came in short notice against Islam there, but I thought he's beat some good guys and he's really progressing through. He's getting finishes now. He's just dominant with that grappling. That's like he's on the road to the top. So the pick is going to be Islam Makhachev. I actually think I'm going to pick him via decision. I think Bobby shows just how good he is and keeps himself in the fight. Maybe I'd love to see him take a round of Islam early, just to see how the confidence kind of shakes in Islam and what may change and what adjustments he might make. But Islam Makhachev is going to be my pick for that one there, guys. So 20 minutes in, this is really kind of where I want it to be, around about 15 to 20 minutes. Until next week, guys, UFC 272. Like the video if you can, subscribe. And remember, I'm going to be on the Die Hard MMA podcast next week with my man Clint. So please come and join us for that next week. I'll post a link on Twitter and you can come and join us. So until then, I will have the timestamps as soon as I can and my picks down below. All the very, very best. Take care.